The north wasn't empty. It just looked that way from a distance. White plains, black rock, gray sky, dead silence. But the closer I looked, the more it talked back. Tracks, scents, broken bones under the drifts. The frostlands were full of life. Life just happened to want me dead. I moved out at first light with my 4 constructs behind me. Shield unit up front, prototype on the left, scout frame on the right, carrier hauling gear in the back. Ugly formation, but it worked. We spent the morning salvaging. Old cart wheels, iron braces, a buried watch post. Then I found the claw marks. Deep. Long. Not wolf. Something antlered lay nearby, ribs cracked open like snapped branches, torn, not cut, crushed, not gnawed. Big, I thought. Then the wind shifted. Wet fur. Ice. Old blood. Back, I said. 20 steps later, the snow ridge exploded. A yeti rose out of it. White fur, ice-matted shoulders, a skull too broad to be real. It towered over me by a head and a half. It charged. Brace. My shield unit planted itself and got hit like a collapsing wall. Thrown back 3 feet, metal screaming. My prototype latched onto its shoulder. My scout frame got swatted into a snowdrift on the first try. I didn't waste the opening. Circled, watched. This thing was armored in packed frost, thick across the shoulders, but the legs were exposed. Less mass, more movement, joints, always joints. I drove my spear into the back of its knee. It buckled. My shield unit slammed the same leg from the front, and the joint bent wrong. The beast went down, dragging my prototype with it. It swung for my throat next. I threw myself backward, felt a claw clip my armor and spin me into the snow, pain exploding down my side. It turned on my shield construct instead. Good. Pain makes patterns sloppy. My scout frame climbed onto its back and started stabbing at one eye socket. Didn't get deep. Didn't need to. That's when I saw the wolf crystal lying by the overturned carrier unit. Oil-soaked cloth, rope, split wood. One clean thought. I wrapped the crystal, lashed it into a bracket, struck it once. Nothing. Twice. A spark. Third time. It caught. Blue-white fire. I threw the burning bundle straight into the wounded leg. The yeti screamed and went down. I sprinted in and drove the spear under its jaw to the haft. It thrashed twice, then it stopped. We won. My constructs didn't celebrate. Uncultured things. Every one of them was wrecked. Prototype missing half an arm. Shield unit support chain snapped. Scout frame down 3 finger links. Carrier still on its side in the snow like a kicked mule. I almost left the carcass. Almost. Then practicality won. The hide alone was worth the labor. The claws could be tools. The bone could reinforce a frame. I cut a core from its chest, heavier than anything I'd found before, cold enough to hurt, silver blue at the center. Useful. That word was becoming a habit. Tracks crossed the land all around us now. Different ones. Large paws, drag marks, a spiral nest half buried in drift. This wasn't just wilderness anymore. It was an ecosystem. Wolves. Yeti. Something bigger burrowing under the snow, maybe worse in the mountains. If I wanted to survive here, I couldn't treat the frostlands like one enemy. I needed categories, threat types, response patterns, systems. Everything becomes survivable once it becomes a system. The next day was repairs. New limbs, tighter joints, one less carrier construct with any dignity left. And while I worked, I finally looked at the horizon. Really looked. Beyond the ridge lay a dead zone. Flatter snow. Wrong wind. Held, not empty. Every animal track in the frostlands stopped dead at its edge. The wolves wouldn't cross it. The Yeti never had. Even the carcasses I'd found were clustered right at the line, like things died trying to leave or trying not to go in. Something ahead had scared every predator in the north. I walked closer. That's when I found the pillars. 2 broken black stones flanking an old buried road, covered in disciplined, deliberate rune work. Not decoration, language. I touched one. A memory hit me like a fist. Black doors slamming shut, soldiers kneeling, bells ringing once, then silence. This place had sealed itself, on purpose. "So you're still there?" I said. I made camp short of the line that night. Some thresholds deserve respect. At dawn, I crossed it. The dead zone closed around me like a held breath. No wolves, no wind, no birds, just an old road clearing beneath the snow, black stone seams running straight towards something bigger. The first ruin I found was a guardhouse. Inside, a skeleton, armored, preserved, chest split open around a glowing core, denser than anything before. The memory pulse hit fast, a corridor, boots on stone, a hand gripping a spear at the sound of the gate. I found tools too, a hammerhead, chisels, tongs fused with rust. "Now that," I muttered, "is worth the walk." Then my scout frame froze. A sound, not a roar, a measured scrape of metal on stone. I looked out and saw them, tall, armored, blue light behind the eyes, walking in perfect rhythm. Not random undead, patrols, 3 of them, ancient black steel fused to bone, each one carrying a different weapon. Disciplined, even dead, disciplined. This city still had a chain of command. I pulled back and let them pass. The farther in I moved, the bigger this place got. Stone arcades, a sunken market hall, roof peeled open like a ribcage. Rune-cut pillars everywhere, elegant under the frost. An entire avenue of statues, kings, generals, priests, worn smooth but still standing guard over roads no living thing had walked in centuries. A hierarchy of dead memory. And for the first time I understood exactly what I was standing in. Not ruins. A sealed capital. Guarded roads. Active patrols. And somewhere past the walls, a palace silhouette, tall and sharp against the storm. "You were serious," I said, half a laugh escaping me. I needed more than luck now. I needed a map. So the next day, I built one. Patrol timing, route gaps, formation spacing. Crouched behind broken windows, while 3-man patrols crossed the avenue every 15 minutes, and heavier squads passed the main square every 30. Then I found the gate itself. Massive black doors, frozen shut, covered edge to edge in structured rune arrays. Less door, more system. And standing in front of it, 2 death knights, heavier, cleaner, more complete than any patrol I'd seen. No sagging, no drift, just blue light and total stillness. I needed to know how the city would respond if something broke its order, so I gave it a reason. I sent my scout frame to yank down a leaning lamppost near an old wagon wreck. It came down loud, wood splintering, iron screaming across the whole plaza. The patrol sprinted to investigate first. The Death Knights followed a beat later, unhurried, certain. Response hierarchy. Exactly what I wanted to see. Then one of them turned its helm straight toward my hiding spot. It hadn't seen me. It had sensed something. A blade of pale force tore through the window above my head a second later. Stone exploded across the room. They could project force at range. Wonderful. I ran. My constructs scattered ahead of me through the barracks ruin, while a Death Knight cut its way through the front wall behind us. Not sprinting, advancing, certain. I funneled it into a narrow lane. Shield unit front, prototype flank, scout high, and it went through my whole squad like they were made of wet paper. One night, my entire legion, barely a speed bump. This wasn't wild strength like the Yeti. This was technical, trained. A dead soldier that still remembered how to fight, targeting joints, reading angles, wasting nothing. My shield unit lost, not in one hit, but in authority. My prototype's core flickered violently after a single pommel strike. My scout frame lost half its torso before it even landed a blow. One night, my entire legion, barely a speed bump. I had one option left. I broke a support pillar in the alley wall with my spear, kicked the wedge loose, and brought half the street down on top of it. Ugly, not heroic, effective enough. I ran the rest of the way back to camp with a ruined scout frame, a cracked shield construct, and a prototype with hairline fractures down its chest housing. But I had what I came for. The city didn't answer chaos with chaos. It answered with hierarchy, and hierarchy could be learned. You win this round, I told the dark, but now I know where the front door is. The next days were rebuilding. Heavier frames, quieter joints, better core shielding to cut the glow. My little army stopped looking like scrap held together by spite and started looking like tools. Then I found the real answer. Not the front gate, a service route. A narrow maintenance path along the inner wall, buried under drift, leading to a side door no patrol ever crossed. The people who build systems always build back doors. I watched it for an hour. Nothing used it, nothing guarded it. I sent my fastest construct in to test the door. It touched the rune frame. Light flared, not hostile, responsive. The kingdom wasn't dead, it was sleeping, and it still answered when touched the right way. That night, I laid every tool I had out by the fire and looked at what was ahead of me. A dead kingdom, active guardians, one real breach point, and no more excuses left. I looked toward the dark where that door was hiding under the snow, and I said it quietly, like the city could actually hear me. I'm coming in.